you came to the right place, and I'm glad you're here. I'm looking at a comment that I received on a video I made called, "Is Spain the best country in Europe for American tourists?" And I received a comment from someone named Logan Kreider. And here was his comment on that video. He says, quote, "I'm from Fort Payne, Alabama, but I cannot lose my southern accent. Any tips?" End quote. Now the reason this is astonishing, because I don't think he knew this about me when he watched that video and said that, but I happen to be from Fort Payne, Alabama as well. He watched another video called My Heritage, Why I Have No Southern Accent, but I'm from Fort Payne. So, and I explained that my mom moved from Buffalo, New York when she was a teenager to Fort Payne, Alabama. And granted, you've seen her in videos and you've heard how she talks, and you think no different. If you hear her accent, you think, really, she's not from the South. She has quite a Southern accent. But her own parents had moved down from the north, from Buffalo, New York, where my Mexican grandma was from, and then Kenosha, Wisconsin, north of Chicago, where my Italian grandfather were from. So being raised around those grandparents in Alabama, I think made me able to discern what a Southern accent sounded like, the way everyone else spoke versus how they spoke. And in some ways, it sort of neutralized my accent. I'm not here to say that I don't have a Southern accent, but to help Logan out here, which, by the way, Logan, I've never heard of you. We're from the same town, but I'm sure I'm at least 20 years older than you. I graduated from Fort Payne, Alabama in 1999. So I've got my 20th anniversary coming up here in a few months. And not anniversary, what? Your reunion, right? 20th class reunion. So just right off the top, by the way, it might help that I happen to have an English degree. That is what I studied in school. But the short version of how to lose your Southern accent is really to focus on the vowels. The vowels are really what distinguishes a Southern accent. And what you have to consider is, so my wife is from California, and the way I've heard the California accent explained is that in theory it's not an accent, but it's the way they talk. And so apparently every single syllable gets pronounced. Every single vowel gets pronounced. It's not that you talk slow, it's that every single vowel is clearly heard and distinguished. So by doing that, if you can try to imagine, what would it sound like if I were to clearly dictate each vowel sound? Because with the Southern accent, what happens is a lot of each vowel sound gets this sort of guttural sound, like an sound. So we're like A for apple, but it's hey, look at that apple over there. It just kind of gets mumbled into that sound, no matter what it is. I remember, hey, this is funny. When my sister in high school, she went to New York City, and with her accent, asked the waiter, she said, "Hey, can I get more ice in my drink?" And what did you just say? "Can I get more ice in my drink?" And someone explained she was asking for more ice, I-C-E. But with the accent, ice sounded like something else. And that is further proof that the Southern accent does that. It just kind of mutes and gives that guttural sound to vowels, to all of them. And it just kind of muddies them up. Only like if you were colorblind and you couldn't see green and this shirt seemed kind of gray. That's kind of what the Southern accent does to vowels. So it's a matter of thinking, okay, what are the vowel sounds? What is the short sound? What is the short and the long? Okay, so A. What's E? E, I, you know, and so you do that with all the vowels and focus on that. You focus on the vowels, and that's going to help clean up the accent a lot. Just focusing on those within itself is going to help your accent. Now, here's something I think that probably helped me too. As a joke, my sister and I, when we would hear someone with a very strong Southern accent, we would hear whatever they said, and then we would quote it. And those became catchphrases within our house, and we'd say these catchphrases that were Southern. I'll give you an example. I remember we were somewhere, we were walking through the woods, and there was this one kid, and he had a rope swing. And as we were walking by, this other kid said, hey, can I ride on your swing? And he's like, no, it's mine. And like, just from quoting certain things like that, we're like, oh yeah, that's what an extreme Southern accent sounds like. So I think the more aware you become of what the extreme Southern accent is, and then you contrast that with what I'm going to call the California accent. And again, I'm going to try to do that again. So the way that my wife talks and everyone where she's from is that every part of the word is pronounced. So you can clearly hear each vowel sound. It's not that you talk too slow, but you can clearly hear every part of the vowel sound in each word. So I would say practice your California accent and practice the most comical version of a Southern accent as you can think of. And I'm going to do that right now. You see this car back here? This is a 2004 Honda Element. I've had this, well actually this month of January, this makes 13 years that I've had this car. So there you go. So just by doing that, you've sort of heard how it's like I stretched my vowels out, but I didn't really pronounce them very well. I pretty much did UH, sound for the most part for what those vowels were. So there you go. That's what I'm going to leave you with. I'm sure there's a lot better videos out there on how to lose a Southern accent, but from someone who now probably sounds like I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio, which is on the Ohio side, but close to Kentucky, or Louisville, Kentucky, which is on the Kentucky side, but near right there on the line of Indiana. That's probably where my accent is more placed. It's more neutralized with only a hint of something Southern if you're really listening for it. Again, much better videos I'm sure exist for this, but glad you reached out to me because hopefully some other people can watch this video and be helped by it too. If you got any comments, be happy to hear from you right here.